Good day, everyone. This is the Project Vedic Talks, and I'm its host, Maria Griluk. Today, our session is about women's health, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to extend a very special greeting to someone who has dedicated her life to one of the most important and noble profession, medicine. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Karin Pirc. She is the practitioner for more than 35 years, leading Ayurveda clinic in Bad Ems. Dr. Karin, over to you.
I also wish a warm welcome, and I hope we can, with all the nice questions from Maria, I can give you an impression, and even you can get some nice hints and tips which you can use at home so to improve your health and mainly your well-being and happiness in life.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll start about the first question. Does Maharishi Ayurveda define optimal health for women? And what role does daily routine dinacharya plays in achieving it?
Yes, so the goal always in Ayurveda is basically to be happy with your senses, with your well-being, with everything. And of course, you can only be happy when you have a healthy body. So if we define the health for the body, it always means you have a good balance of the doshas, which are the metabolic structural levels in your body. We can translate that you have a good digestive system with a good purification, and all of this is the basis. So in that healthy body can be a happy mind. Let's put it that way.
Okay, great. Thank you for your answer. And how does women's dosha influence your natural body type?
Yeah, the thing is, if you understand how your structure is, that makes it much more easy for you to balance. So we have three body types, we can say, or body and mind types.
Mhm.
That means there are people, ladies, which have a lot of vata. And so if you are more in that direction, everything is quick. You move quick, you talk quick, you have more quickly anxieties, you're thinking all the time, you have maybe problems falling asleep. And with your weight, you have the tendency, which other people are always very happy and jealous about, you can put up weight that's difficult for you, and you can lose weight very quickly. So it's a very quick metabolism, you could say, but also in the mind it's quick, and that is in our stressful time sometimes a challenge because we are so overdone with all the influences from outside that the ladies who are more in that direction, they always have to balance themselves in the directions of having more rest, being more quiet, do meditation, all these kind of things. So we will talk about this more. I know Maria has prepared nice questions for all of you. So then the pitta person is somebody with a real good and strong metabolism. These are the people, they never have cold hand and feet like the vata, the first type, has. They're always warm. They can digest food a lot. So since you asked about weight, and these people, they can eat a lot, but they don't put on weight so much. But they are not so slim and tiny like the vata person. And they're basically always hungry because everything they eat is burned immediately. And these people, if you are in that direction more, you will note that when you have challenges, you go more in the direction to be irritated or impatient, something like that. And your sleep is basically good but short. These people have a short sleep, and they're rested with a short sleep. So if the Vata people have short sleep, they're always tired because they need more. But Pitta is fine with 5, 6 hours and then be strong. And then comes the Kapha personality, we would say. These people are very, you hear it when I start talking about very slow. So they talk slow, they move slow. Their digestive capacity is also low. So these are the people, they eat not much, but the weight goes up in no time. They heavy after the food. They are Mm, but they are slow in digesting, so they feel heavy maybe 3, 4, 5 hours after they have eaten. But together with that, the hunger level is not so big. So if you follow that, when you have a more kapha tendency, then it's also not too difficult. And these people, they can sleep even if they are adult. If you're an adult lady, you know you don't have enough sleep during the week, but then you sleep on the weekend, you can sleep 10 hours, 11 hours. And then but it takes time when you wake up. You're still a little lazy. You need to get fresh. It takes some time. And the positive part about the kapha is you are just completely courageous. You don't think so much about problems. So when I have my patients with a lot of kapha, I ask them, how do you deal with problems? And then, very slowly they look at me and they say, problems? I don't have problems, so they don't even feel them. Whereas if you ask a Vata person, then she talks for 5 minutes telling about all her problems. And if she's finished, she starts telling about the problems she had 10 years ago. So like that. So the first one is quick, to summarize it again, and a little easy to disturb. The second one is very strong, a little bit impatient, very structured in the brain. And the last ones, there's the sweet ones, the nice ones, which have a lot of courage and silence in themselves.
Thank you. And can we have like a combination of two doshas dominated, or it's always one dosha dominated?
Oh no, this is not what God is creating. It's always a mixture. So
Mhm.
even when you hear this, you as a lady now, you will hear, aha, this is a little bit like I am, but that is also a little bit like I
Mhm.
am. And on top of this, I mean, these three doshas are a little bit what you are born with. But
Mhm.
all the influences of the life, whatever you watch, whatever you see, whatever you hear, it also gives you an influence of the doshas. So basically, you have a basis of the doshas, and on top, you have maybe some disturbances which should be, and that's the reason why we have Ayurveda. We want to help to balance and to reduce the things which are not completely balanced and nice.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um,
Mm.
so, what causes this irregular hunger or food craving in women, and how can we balance through diet and lifestyle?
Yes, I would say the main thing these days, because we are in the West and it's all this so-called civilized
Yeah.
people, we have these days we have much too much stress and not enough rest. So that means the body is always trying to balance. For example, if we have people with a lot of vata, you remember the quick ones, the sensitive ones, they have a tendency to balance the vata with a sweet taste, for example. So that's a problem these days. Many people like to eat sweets or eat in between to balance the vata, even the people with pitta and kapha, but mainly the people with vata. And vata also means if you are stressed, then we would always say in Ayurveda, this is a vata disturbance. And then if you're stressed, immediately the body wants to balance that with food. And we all know this.
Yeah.
This is an instinct, yeah? And maybe you have noticed when you're tired or you are stressed, then you start and crave for more food, for wrong food, for rubbish, things like
Mhm.
this. That's why the first thing is not to teach people which kind of food to prefer, what Ayurveda also does, but the main thing is balance your lifestyle, meaning you go to bed, and that is for all the three doshas. You go to bed as early as possible, meaning 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening, something like this. Because we know, and that's also modern medicine has told us the same, the sleep before midnight is much deeper. You go to a sleep phase, which we call number four as doctors. So you sleep much deeper. That means the 2 hours before midnight give you the deepest rest, gives you the best balance for the next day. So you're really rested. And we also say not only go to bed early, but try to go as early to your bed that you don't need an alarm clock next morning.
Yeah.
So you really sleep the time which you need. And that's a very good deep basis. And then During the day, of course, you should have like regular meals. So like for the Vata Pitta people, we would say always 3 meals, definitely, because if Pitta doesn't get enough food, they get irritated.
Yeah.
And Vata gets restless, something like that. And for Kapha, it will be enough to eat 2 times because this metabolism is slow and they don't like so much to eat to their fullest. So then we have the meals, and they should basically as regular as possible because the body reacts if there's irregularity, especially for the stressed and Vata person with anxieties and many thoughts. If they have a regular lifestyle, let's say every morning at 7:30 they have their breakfast, at 12 they have their lunch, at 6 they have their evening meal, you will feel after a while that your whole system starts to be more balanced, be more soothed. You have less anxieties even.
Yeah.
Just, that's the trick. If you have the possibility to balance your bodily rhythm, you will feel that your mm, how do you say, your soul, your mind also gets more balanced. And that's the main thing. We understand in Ayurveda that body and mind are just completely together. So you can always change the mind, then the body will adjust, or you change the body, then the mind will adjust. And that's why also for all the three dosha types, we always recommend, that's a crucial part in Ayurveda, we always recommend to do regular meditation so the body can charge up the batteries, get rest, get balanced, so everything goes a little bit more smooth and light.
Great, thank you. And if we start already speaking about digestion and regularity for our yeah, cycles, how critical is digestive health, our Agni, in maintaining overall women's health? And what practices support the balance of Agni?
Yeah. So Agni is if you translate the Sanskrit word, it means fire. And we also have in our language, we say in English, also in German, we say we have a digestive fire.
Yeah.
So that means if that is good, that's the basis for all the other metabolism inside your body cells. So if your digestive system is out of order, this is one of the main reasons for disease, for not well-being, and so on. So
Mhm.
to strengthen this, that was your question.
Yeah.
How do we strengthen it? The first thing I already told you, eat at the same times.
Mhm.
So second one is don't overeat. When little children, all the mothers who are listening to this, you will immediately say, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about." When you have little children and you want them to force them to eat more than their saturation level, no chance, they won't. But after a while, after we get adults and bigger and we have our little traumas here and there and our stress, then we use the food also not just for nourishing ourselves, but also for soothing. Because if your stomach is full, you're more relaxed. So
Yeah.
immediately you do that like that. But then if you overload your system on a regular basis, if you do it once or twice, no problem, that's normal. But if you do overload it on a regular basis, then the digestive capacity goes down. So meaning you should learn again, everybody should learn again, not only ladies, you should only learn again to eat when you're really hungry, because that is a signal where your body says, okay, I'm able to digest again. This is empty. I have enough enzymes produced, I can digest again. And then also learn to stop when the hunger level is gone, when the satiety level is there. I remember my father, I'm from an older generation. My father always told when we were children, you should always stop to eat when the taste is best. And that was really
Okay.
intelligent because after then it's just you eat, you still eat, but it's not so interesting anymore. And that is something which you really, really have to train. But I know from thousands of patients that you can regain that if you lost this fine feeling level. So number one, we said regular food. don't overeat, eat when you're hungry. And then we come to a very important part, which is also happened in the West a lot, I think, in all the countries, because we are richer than we have ever been. People start to eat in between.
Oh, yes.
And that is absolutely killing. You know, you're in your office and then your coworker comes and you want a cookie, then you say, okay, yes, but you don't think, am I hungry? Is my food digested, which I have eaten before? So that means, you know, when your body starts to process the food, then the intestine starts to take in the digestive molecules. So then let's say you have a big meal and it needs 3 hours to be digested.
Mhm,
Then after 2 hours, your friend comes, offers you a cookie or a little bit of chocolate, whatever it is. Then you take that in. But the cells of the intestine, they're already absorbing food.
mhm,
But now they also absorb some bigger particles, that is just the food which you have been eaten in between. And these bigger particles, they're not completely digested. So they turn inside or outside your body cells when they reach there into what we call ama in Ayurveda. So that means it's just rubbish because we don't have any enzymes inside our body cells which can digest that quick and properly like our intestine can. And this is one of the main reasons for any disease you can think of. So that's a very important point. You can eat as much as you like, but never you eat when you're not clearly hungry. So, and then most of the people, I mean, if you have a pitta person with this very strong digestive power, like you have a male son which is 16, then you know what a good digestive power is. The whole day they are hungry. They can eat really more. But when they get older and the digestive power goes a little bit more down, then of course you teach them and yourself only eat when you're really hungry and learn to just say, thank you, I'm not hungry at this time. Maybe you keep the cookie and eat it before you start your dinner. That's much better than you eat it in between.
Yeah, good tips for us. Thank you. And what do you
I have
think?
another one, just wait, because that's
Okay.
so easy for everybody to
Mhm,
take. This is something which is super famous in Ayurveda. All Ayurveda doctors are prescribing is drinking of hot water. So you really heard well, just
mhm,
water. So what we do, what we suggest, you cook the water in the morning. So I always say, easiest thing, you get up, you go to the kitchen. You don't put it in a hot water cooker because that water stops cooking when it's 100 degrees. You just put it in the old-fashioned pot on your stove, and then you cook it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So in between, you go to the bathroom, you shower, you do everything there, come back and fill it in a big thermos and have it with you the whole day. So, and when your Agni, your digestive system, became weak during your life, then you can drink it like every half an hour or every 3/4 of an hour. You just drink a little bit. It doesn't mean you drink a big pot every time, but just 5, 6, 7 sips, because that brings up the temperature in your digestive system. So you know we have like 38 degrees, that's our normal temperature here. So if you eat warm food, that keeps the temperature. If you eat cold food like ice cream, something like that, it really pushes it down, and that will decrease your Agni, the power of your digestive system. So now, since from time to time we all like to eat ice cream, we have to balance it. So what you do, you drink your hot water regularly during the whole day. And it also has a big plus, the question which you asked me before. The big plus is the body gets more rested when you do that. Like
mhm.
when you go to a bathtub, for example, you come out, you're not just only warm, you come out and you say, oh, I'm so
Yeah.
soothed, it's so nice, you know. And this is in a little way, every half an hour, you remember your body, you decrease a little bit this restlessness in your system because it's getting the warmth. And many people feel after a very short time of some 2, 3, 4 days, you will feel the craving for eating sweet all the time. it is decreased because your stress level is decreased just with hot water. So it's the cheapest and easiest and really well-working tool which we can offer.
And for how long can we drink this hot water? Is it like every day or we
Till
can?
you die.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Answer. Great. Thank you. And what do you think about the intermediate fasting when we like skipping, let's say, breakfast? Is it
Mhm,
healthy for our body or is it like a stressful situation?
mhm. So I always make my joke with these questions. I asked you, how do you know who is a good Ayurveda doctor? So the answer to this question is this person, this doctor will never say yes or no. Because because it depends. See, let's
Okay.
do this again. We have this very sensitive Vata person.
Yeah.
If they don't have a breakfast, they'll be out of balance the whole morning. So
Okay.
they need food.
Mhm.
So also, since we are talking to ladies, if you have children which are in that direction, so you will definitely give them a breakfast because they will not be good in school without that. So if you have a pitta person with this very strong hunger, there's no question, they need a breakfast. Yeah. So if you have the kapha person, this the slow one with a strong build, deep sleep, they need like maybe half an hour until they're really awake when they got out of their bed, because the sleep was so deep. And that means the activity level of their body also takes longer time to wake up. And for those, it can be really good to skip the breakfast or just have a little tea or something like this, very, very light. So you always have to see, we always have to look at the balance for a person. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then always the same thing, your breakfast for like for example, the Vata person, you would give them because they are these freezing people and so on. For the Vata persons, you would suggest something warm, like a steamed apple or this porridge, something like
Mhm.
that. It will be nicely balanced the whole morning. Pitta needs quite a good breakfast, and like I said, Kapha just very little or hardly anything, and they can even also skip it.
That.
But you asked me about this intermittent fasting. So we have to look at that again. The
Mhm.
intermittent fasting is a very good thing because it means, if you really understand it well, it really means you're not overloading the system the whole day. So, but you have to do it in an intelligent way. So, with our Ayurvedic knowledge, it's perfect. Meaning, because I all know this from my patients, they come and they say, "Oh, I do intermittent fasting," and then I ask them, "How do you do it?" And then some people they say, you come out to the point that they eat their latest meal at, let's say, 8 or 9 in the evening, and that is not good. So, meaning if you reduce the time of food intake, I think it's a good idea because the time in between, like they say always, 8 hours to 16 hours, that means 8 hours complete rest for your system, excuse me, 16 hours complete rest for your system, which is good. But you should also see that it's at the right time because our body is tuned to the influence of the sunlight. Even if you're inside in your office all the time or in your house, which is not good anyway, but that's how we live. But still the cycle of the day with the influence of the sunlight, it will always influence your bodily system. That means when you eat late in the evening that your digestive capacity is very low. That's why we say your main meal should be at lunch, because then also modern medicine found this, that we produce the most amount of stomach acid we produce at 12 o'clock noon. So when I saw that, I thought, well, great, that's Ayurveda. So, and that means it decreases during the day. And that's why we say the last meal, the evening meal, the dinner, should be very light and as early as you can arrange it, like 6 o'clock, 5, 6 o'clock, something like that. And the older we get, the more important it is because it's general that the older you become, that your digestive capacity goes a little down. So that's just with age in general.
So after 6, it's only like a water and tea and nothing else, yes?
That would be ideal, yes.
Okay, great.
But
Let's
the
make a
thing
lot of sense.
The thing is, try this. I'm a fond of because I always have Western patients who have all kinds of weird things how they live, and I do sometimes. But but so if you do something like this, a new thing, like try it for a week.
Yeah.
You just, if you can arrange it, try for a week, eat at 6 o'clock light, and then your homework is next morning you wake up, you watch yourself how you feel. You feel lighter, you feel more happy, you feel more energetic, and that was the beginning of our interview. That's where we want to go.
Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Thank you. And which food and herbs help balance our metabolism in the women according to their dosha? So maybe we can have like small tips.
Yeah, there is specific tastes, which is quite easy because normally you feel I mean, you crave what you need. Hmm? The only thing is we have to learn to give the cravings in a healthy way. For example, the Vata persons, they always like to eat sweet. So then we don't buy chocolate and cookies or ice cream. So we have just, for example, some extra dates in the morning porridge or something like this. So because the sweet is needed to balance the Vata. So the Kapha people with a very slow metabolism, what they need is something which is improving the metabolism. So what could that be? They prefer spicy food. Yeah. So
Mhm.
like some pepper, some ginger, things like this. And since they have the tendency to put on more weight and be more fatty than the other ones, also from the skin, not just weight-wise, it's also good to give them bitter stuff. So
Mhm.
they like vegetables and things like this. But that is actually what the doshas instinctively prefer. And pitta has a strong metabolism, so don't give them too many spices because then there'll be even more. And they also like sweet, little bitter, astringent. So,
Yeah, great. And how we can know which doshas we have, which are predominant? Do we need to have a specific consultation for that, or only we can guess?
yeah, so you can just look up in the internet. For example, in our clinic, we have a quite extensive dosha test, which I have developed.
Okay.
Of course, if you see an Ayurvedic doctor, he or she has even more specific things which we can look at, which somebody who doesn't have any idea about it, it's too difficult. But the basic thing you can find out, so you will always find out exactly what you said in the beginning, Maria. So somebody is Vata Pitta or Kapha Pitta. So then you have an idea, and then the next step is to learn how to balance that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
these days, actually, there are more and more Ayurvedic courses, so you can find out. At least in Germany, we have a very big one now with 16 lessons about Ayurvedic basic knowledge for normal people, so something like this.
Yeah,
So, and
I will leave the link
we
for this
study in a
course.
way, but
Yeah,
it's
in
very
our description.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I know from our patients, then we give lectures every day in the clinic, and so and we also have DVDs which they can look at with basic knowledge. And the reaction which I hear most often is that the people say it makes so much sense, I tried so many things, but this is so much giving me an answer to many things, and it's just exactly how it is, and I can work with it.
Yeah, it's a very structural knowledge what we have from
Yeah,
Maharishi.
that's true. That's true.
That's the best what we can actually find. Maybe we can, as we go towards the end, maybe we can talk a bit what are the most common signs of fatigue or low energy in women from Ayurvedic perspective.
Yes. So generally, we could say that most of the ladies have a little bit more vata compared to men. So
Mhm.
we have in a positive way a more sensitive nervous system. So if you're quite a balanced lady, you will notice, and an intelligent husband also knows that the intuition of his wife is good. So it's much, much better sometimes. And the challenge is in these days to keep our strengths in that direction. And that means don't overload as much as possible with too many outer influences. So like I said in the beginning, try that you sleep enough. Try that you rest during the day. So whenever you feel you're irritated, you're aggressive, you're tired, you're unhappy, that means you lost your balance. That's all. It's not a disease, you know? And then if you're overdone, so that's maybe also an important point. So if your vata is deranged, meaning it's too much stress, then many symptoms come. And these ladies, they always think they have 10 different diseases. So that's why I tell it. So what happens when you're overloaded? You're tired, you're exhausted, you have more anxieties, your brain is running mad, trying to find always solutions. You grumble, you don't concentrate, you're freezing, you cannot keep things in your mind, you forget things more, and it's all the same thing. So when you find you're in that direction, and many ladies are these days, so we need exactly what we talked about, the proper food, more warm food, so it's easy to digest, warm drinks, hot water, go to bed early. It's always the same story. Do meditation. That is the main thing, which because it also makes your mind when you're more rested, it's easier for you to find the right decisions. All these things will lead us ladies to more balance, and that means also more strength. And that also means, I mean, what you also need to move your system, to move your body, because everything what you don't use, the body just, well, it gets less. So meaning what we have these days, you can walk. So like for example, when you have a lot of vata, you're exhausted, we always suggest some activity which is not giving you extra exhaustion. So you just walk, light walk. Like for pitta people, they can do some sports which brings them in the direction to sweat a little bit. No, wrong. That was kapha. So for the pitta people, it's like you can really start um, breathing more intensely because your body is stronger. And the kapha people, they can and they should go to the direction to um, to sweat because they need this improvement of the metabolism. So that also is a big part that we need more rest in our system, but we also, especially in these days where many people have jobs where they sit a lot, and even in the evening we start sitting a lot because we're exhausted. Maybe it's a good idea to also do for the Vata people a mild, like how do you say it, power training, muscle training, things like this. For the Pitta people, immediate, medium, and the Kapha ladies, they should really, really strengthen themselves. And the thing is, we were talking about it in the beginning. Ayurveda is for balancing. Ayurveda is for more happiness. So if you do some sportly activity, you should always feel much better after that. I remember a patient, she told me she was a lot of vata, and she said she goes 2 times per week, she goes and plays tennis. And then I said, because tennis is strain, you have to
Yeah.
run, you have to push. This is really strong. This is good for kapha, for example. So then I asked her, how do you feel after that? And she looked at me and said, terrible. That's not Ayurveda. Ayurveda should always be I do something, even if I strain myself, but after that, I should feel more balance, more happiness, good blood, not too much exhaustion. It should be easy.
Yeah, that's great suggestions. Thank you. And if, for example, can we do it somehow intuitively as well? The way which exercise to choose, or it's more just completely to the doshas related.
It's always everything is dosha related, so you will do
Okay.
it. I could say, for example, Vata needs something which is emotionally uplifting, but
Mhm.
not too straining. So Vata would be like dancing. I mean, not power dancing, but so nice dancing. It would be nice walking, even with a stick. Nordic walking would be good. swimming in warm water because they're always freezing, something
Mm.
like this. So a mild activity. So for Pitta, well, would be stronger dancing, climbing, because they're always hot. They would
Mm.
prefer like mountain climbing where it's a little bit cooler, something like this. Swimming in cooler water, but a little stronger swimming.
Mm.
And what would they like? Skiing, these things, And
Okay.
Kapha, Kapha we really have to treat hard. So Kapha means, really strong climbing or running or big weight
Mm.
movement of big weights because they have the body, they can also do it. So, but always what Ayurveda would always, so we never overstrain because for every dosha that would mean the the vata goes up. Even in pitta and kapha person, it can go up, which we don't want. So these days, it would be a good idea if you want to do strong sport or strong activity, to one thing is the breathing. So
Mhm.
kapha vata should be soft breathing, pitta can be more,
Yeah.
kapha should be sweating. But you can also take a pulse meter. So, and we would never train to like after the training, you're just completely exhausted. Better start slow and then go on, put on in a way that you always still feel fine. And after you did it, you should go out and say, oh, that was a strain, but I feel great. So
Yeah.
that's always, you don't need a machine for that. You have your intuition, you know that.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. That makes a lot of sense now
Yes.
to understand it better, of course.
So hot water,
Yes.
3 meals, no in between meals, movement, sleep, and meditation. It's a lot of
Okay.
things, but it's all nice and it will balance everybody. And if it's not enough, then of course, you can always see an Ayurveda doctor. If somebody has a special disease, for example, I love to treat people with asthma or things like this. So
Yeah.
then, of course, there's a cure, but that needs more than just balanced lifestyle, of course. Then you need some nice herbs or some extra tips.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karin, for sharing your knowledge, insights, and inspiration with us today. It has been a truly enriching conversation. And thank you, everyone who joined us. I will leave all the links in the description how to find Bad Ems clinic, how to find different courses, and how to find the teacher, meditation teacher next to your location. Thank you so much.
Right. Yes, that will be helpful. Yes, thank you for the invitation, Maria. It was so fun, and I'm always
Thank you.
happy to give some uplifting suggestions to people and to make their life richer and more happy.
Thank you. Jai Gurudev.
They go there.